5 things that men should stop doing when a woman with wounded energy starts taking over the relationship. We talk a lot about how women get exhausted trying to manage their partner's behaviors, but men can overfunction too. Sometimes a man will slowly abandon his grounded masculine energy because he's becoming responsible for his partner's emotions and insecurities, reactions, and emotional state. Now, this doesn't make anyone a bad partner, but it does make the dynamic very unhealthy if you continually compensate for what someone refuses to regulate or communicate or take responsibility for. You might be helping to maintain the exact patterns that you are complaining about. For example, if she questions every decision that you make, you have to stop asking for permission to lead. There is a difference between considering your partner and needing her approval to make decisions. Maybe every plan gets redesigned or suggestions get corrected. Maybe the process is exhausting for you, so you just stop deciding. You say whatever you want, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to eat. She'll be frustrated because she feels like she has to lead everything. But somewhere along the way, you probably surrendered your agency to avoid criticism. So you wouldn't want to respond by becoming controlling. You want to become grounded. What does that even look like? I hear your preference. Here's what I think we should do. I'm open to input, but I'm very comfortable making this decision. Healthy masculine energy can consider someone else's opinion without disappearing into their thoughts and feedback. However, if you constantly feel like you are requiring her agreement, you are no longer collaborating with your partner. Now, let's say that she's emotionally reactive. How do you deal with that? You have to stop making yourself responsible for controlling or preventing a reaction from her. Most men are very hypervigilant around their partner's emotions. You monitor words and her face, her tone, mood. Maybe you ask, "Are you okay? Are you mad?" a lot. Eventually, your entire behavior pattern is organized around keeping her from being upset. This would not be emotional leadership. This is walking on eggshells. Of course, her feelings deserve respect, but you don't need to regulate her feelings or manage them. You should be able to say something difficult without taking responsibility for how she reacts. A person who can't tolerate their partner's disappointment will eventually cower away with resentment and passivity. You are allowed to remain loving while your partner has a feeling. Here's another example. What if she communicates by testing you? Well, you stop taking the test. This one is really huge because she might say something like, "Well, do whatever you want." But she absolutely does not mean for you to do whatever you want. Or maybe she'll pull back or withdraw to see if you're going to chase her. She says that she's fine and then gets angry when you believed her. These are scenarios that some wounded women will create to see if you can prove that you love them properly. You start becoming a detective. What does she actually mean? What answer is she looking for? What am I supposed to do? No, healthy intimacy does not require mind reading. It's different than knowing. It's different than knowing your partner. And you don't want to reward this. Men and women do this, testing the other. So if you are the healthy person in the relationship or you're moving toward a healthier dynamic, if you feel like you're being tested, this is what you should say. "I think I understand what you need, but you need to tell me directly." Let's stop the hints, people. And that's not being emotionally cold. I could see how saying something like that explicitly could hurt someone's feel. "Oh, you think I'm testing you and I'm not communicating directly?" But it's helping you create a boundary around communication. If it ain't clear, I don't hear. Constantly deciphering hidden messages, especially if you're good at it, creates very little incentive for someone to redirect how they communicate directly. Okay, here's another example. What if your partner's insecurity requires endless reassurance? What do you do about that? Well, first you need to stop trying to fix a wound you didn't create. Reassurance does belong in relationship. Of course, if your partner feels insecure, then loving reassurance is really beautiful. But there is a point when reassurance becomes a full-time job. "You still love me? Are you attracted to me? Are you leaving? Is that woman prettier than me? Why did you like that picture? Why did you take 15 minutes to respond?" You're going to have to keep proving and explaining, showing your phone, whatever, changing behaviors that aren't actually inappropriate. Just trying to give more and more reassurance and more and more. But somehow their anxiety always returns. I mean, reassurance supports healing, but it doesn't replace it. So at some point, hopefully you can say, "I love you, I'm committed to you, I'm transparent and trustworthy. I'm not going to repeatedly prove my innocence, especially against fears that are coming from somewhere else." This isn't abandoning your person. This is refusing to having to regulate their nervous system. Okay, this one's really common. If she controls everything but then complains that she has to lead everything and that you don't lead anything, this dynamic happens way more than people admit. She wants you to plan the date, so you plan it. But then she changes the restaurant and the time, changes what you're wearing, and then questions the activity. Then next week, why don't you ever plan anything? Sir, do not enter into this power struggle. But you also don't need to hand over the steering wheel just because someone doesn't like the route you're taking, right? So hopefully you can get to a space where you can just explicitly say, look, you asked me to plan this one, let me plan it. If you have a genuine boundary or really don't like something, tell me. Otherwise, trust me enough to create this experience. And then follow through. Masculine leadership has a hard time growing inside constant management. So here's the part, though, that men need to own. Do not use your partner's controlling behavior as an excuse to be passive. If she wants everything her way, that's a really convenient excuse to not do a damn thing or to try. Maintain your initiative, maintain your voice, maintain your standards. Just like I would say to anybody, let her response be the information you need to determine if she even has the capacity for a healthy relationship with you. How do you remain grounded and emotionally responsible and self-respecting without becoming controlling or passive or her emotional caretaker? This is masculine integration. You can love a woman without regulating every emotion for her. You can listen without surrendering every decision. You can lead without dominating, and you can have boundaries without withdrawing your love, okay? I do think sometimes men will step away from overfunctioning and then make the relationship very uncomfortable. Let it be uncomfortable, because now you get to see what happens when you aren't constantly compensating, right? Can she communicate directly? Can she tolerate disappointment? Can she receive without controlling? Can she regulate herself? Can she take accountability? Are you allowed to be your own person without your independence being interpreted as rejection? Those answers do matter. And I will remind you that a healthy feminine masculine energy relationship isn't created by someone becoming the emotional parent of the other. You both want to be grounded enough to love each other without abandoning yourselves. All right? Go.